Day 32, our passage for today's devotion is taken from Daniel chapter 9, verses 4, and I'll be reading it in the NLT version. I prayed to the Lord my God and confessed, O Lord, you are a great and awesome God. You always fulfill your promises of unfailing love to those who love you and keep your commands. Daniel chapter 9 verse 4 is the beginning of Daniel's prayer and confession to God. And Daniel finds himself, as most of us are aware, in captivity in Babylon. He is reminding himself as he prays to God that God is indeed great. He is able to do amazing things. He is awesome. And despite his external circumstances maybe revealing to him or making him feel that this isn't true, Daniel chooses to actively confess by faith what he believes and what he's known of God through the stories handed down to him from his foreparents. What's really interesting here is that he says this: you always fulfill your promises. Here Daniel is invoking and reminding himself that God had made a covenant and had made a covenant with his forefathers Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. And for the people of Israel, the covenant that God made with their forefathers and by inheritance to them as well was something to hold on to. God had promised them that they will be a blessed, numerous people in the land. And here, while everything in Daniel's external circumstances may be to the contrary, Daniel here is saying, God, I believe that you are faithful to these promises because you love us. But more importantly, Daniel has his own personal testimonies of where God has demonstrated salvation and deliverance and been merciful to Daniel and didn't need to. So the combination of Israel's history and the trajectory and the fact that Israel was taken out of Egypt was one factor, but Daniel also had personal circumstances that he could point to demonstrate that God was good and faithful to the outworking of his promises. I wonder what in our lives we can point to demonstrate and remind ourselves, our testimonies, remind ourselves that God is indeed great and God is indeed good. For many of us, the pandemic has been a challenging time, and in our external circumstances can often make us feel that God is sometimes distant. But maybe we need to hold on to the basic tenet of our faith. That the fact that, again, you're probably watching this, the fact that we gather together online, the fact that we know him by faith, and the fact that we are saved are indicators that God is working, even when we don't necessarily feel like it or potentially see it in our lives. When we look back at the first work that he's done, or maybe the fact that he's provided for us in the past, these are indicators, testimonies that we have to hold on to remind ourselves that he is faithful to his promises.